Thank you all for coming. This is great. I'm Liz Estes, myself and Sherry Masson, who's been helping greet people, and Sarah Moore are the leadership team right now for Indivisible Huron Valley. So we're going to meet and greet you. So happy you could all come. I always seem to start this way, but I think it's good. I want to thank everybody for everything they've done since our last meeting. We sent thousands of postcards, made hundreds of phone calls, thousands of text messages to Georgia, and I have to believe that that made a difference. And I know a lot of people donated money to that effort. So thank you. I mean, that was the high point of our day last Wednesday. And we'll later on, I'm sure, have a lot of discussion about the low point of our day last Wednesday. The other thing that's been just so wonderful that's been going on is most of you live in and around our community and are aware of some of the things that our state representative has been up to. And we've had some really amazing support from this group in terms of emailing Speaker Wentworth, emailing anybody that you knew outside. We're getting tremendous support across the state for this movement to really put him under a microscope and look at what he's been doing. And does that really meet what he is supposed to be doing in office, or is it in direct conflict with that? So thank you. Our letters to the editor are obviously getting under their skin because there's been some comments made that we're pretty sure mean he's been reading the letters to the editor. And as Sherry posted, I think on our Facebook page, we pretty much owned the spinal column this week in terms of letters to the editor. And the best part is this is a situation where we could all so easily be angry. And when you get angry, come out fighting. And everybody has kept their professionalism. They've been forthcoming and strong in their comments, but not sinking to any level that's combative. And that's the mechanism. If any of you have ever gone to the few and far between coffee hours that Representative Maddock has had, that is what they do. They talk down to you, they patronize you, and demean you in very subtle ways in hopes that I think that there will be some reaction and you will just walk away and then they can point the finger. So I just urge everybody to continue to stay that course. It's been pretty exciting to see how great this group has been. We do have, as a beginning, just kind of cool, to our meeting this is our year in review. And Steve Prang has been our amazing videographer throughout the life of this organization. And when we said, well, are we doing a year in review? I mean, our year has been a pandemic year. You know, what kinds of images can we put in a video about our year in review? And I think you're going to be amazed at everything you've done this year, because I know every time I've watched the video in 2 different permutations and it brought a tear to my eye both times. So I hope that it can have the same influence on you. And we'll watch that, and then we'll go on to the business part of our meeting, and then we'll do something to work together and get to know each other a little bit better and talk about everything that's been going on.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
We think we have it very well under control. A lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat.
As you may or may not know, this is our 3rd anniversary.
We're actually in those polling places, making sure that those challengers from the Republican Party are not keeping voters from voting.
But I commend you on the amount of work that you're doing within this group.
I mean, view this the same as the flu. One day it's like a miracle, it will disappear.
We did a wonderfully successful voter registration gig at Walled Lake Northern today. It was very exciting to see the grins on the kids' faces who got a chance to vote.
CDC is advising the use of non-medical cloth face covering. I don't think I'm going to be doing it.
We have a number of things to share tonight, so we're going to jump right in. John's going to do real quick just an overview.
There's going to be two little icons. One of them's going to have a microphone and one of them's going to have a video camera.
Yes, hi everybody. Good evening. It's good to see you all as 1 by 2 inch people on a flat screen. So welcome to the new normal.
Let's roll.
We're going to get rolling here. We have a really large meeting. For those of you who aren't regular members of our group, I'm Liz Estes. I'm the chairperson currently of the group.
If you see your face here, you know you still have your rebuttal.
I'm here to help you out to find that something that you can do in this world of Zoom where we can't get out, but there are things we can do for these candidates.
Probably in about 10 minutes, we'll start getting people to come up and present and everything.
Who's got my back? I got your back. Who's got my back? I got your back. No fist in the air. Who's got my back? I got your back. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace.
My first part was to just say thank you to everybody who stepped up, the people who helped me do the text banking, get us out there. It was such a phenomenal turnout. It was such an uplifting experience. So glad everybody made it.
Thank you for joining us on the right side of history.
I attended the Milford March for Black Lives. When you see people like Nisha Maddock, who can act so ugly, then it's violence towards each and every black person in the community.
These have been incredible stories, and they need to go into your heart, they need to go into your mind, and then they need to go to the ballot box.
No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace! Black Lives Matter!
We're the Rose family, teacher, student of Huron Valley, and we are so excited to support Denise.
We're going to roll because we have a really full meeting tonight. Please feel free to have your cameras on this meeting. People really like seeing people's faces.
The Saturday things are a lot less stringent than this. It's more of a discussion about what's going on. If you'd like to join, the link will be in our emails, so don't forget to sign up for those.
what you'll ever do.
1,000 Americans are dying a day.
They are dying. That's true. It is what it is. So we have a new phenomena. It's called mail-in voting, where you send where a governor.
It's been here since the Civil War.
And, you know, you could have a case where this election won't be decided on the evening of November 3rd.
Absolutely.
This election could be
What's wrong with that?
decided 2 months later.
It won't be 2 months. What's wrong with the proper mailing
It could be
count?
decided many months later.
Have you?
I'm just going to open with a big thank you. It is amazing what everybody has been doing. Thanks everybody who has been on a phone bank, did a lit drop, wrote a postcard. I told Nancy it doesn't show up on the website yet, but I went in before the meeting and put my somethings in for this week. So we broke 28,000. And we did 30,000 for the whole campaign 2 years ago. So we bumped our goal to 40,000 and we're thinking we're going to make it because this is our big push.
COVID. On November 4th, you won't be hearing so much about it. No, your governor, I don't think she likes me too much. It was our people that helped her out with her problem. I mean, we'll have to see if it's a problem, right? People are entitled to say maybe it was a problem, maybe it wasn't.
CNN projects Joseph R. Biden Jr. is elected the 46th president of the United States.
You chose hope and unity, decency, science, and yes, truth.
And to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as our enemies. They are not our enemies, they are Americans.
I always say to people that I do more than some and less than a lot of others, and everybody does what they can. And I say that everybody on this call did everything they could. I don't know how many times I personally felt like I could do the pandemic or I could do this election. Please, God, do not ask me to do both of these things because it is an awful lot to do. And I'm sure a lot of people felt that way and they just stepped up. So we obviously want to impact this election in Georgia, right? But I'm gonna let John take over and go over what he's collected here.
There's 2 different postcards that are ready to go. You can sign up for Femmes for Dems, and that's the top left one. Georgia Postcard Project, that's the top right one. It's the second one in the list.
I'd say that poll book is off by over 100,000. What about the turnout rate? 120%?
We're not seeing the poll book off by 30,000 votes. That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
Ayes 55, noes 0.
California's electors have just confirmed their 55 votes for Joe Biden. And President-elect Biden has now received a majority of electoral votes needed to win the presidency, along with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris in her home state of California, pushing the Democrats well over the key 270 vote threshold. It's yet another major blow to President Trump's efforts to undermine the will of the American people.
I remember when we started talking about this 4 years ago and the fears that we had. And through it all, people showed up at protests, they showed up to vote, they showed up in massive numbers here, they organized and they volunteered. The threat against our institutions, the threat of the damage that could do, the threat that Donald Trump could do to our culture, they were all very, very real. And the fact that we can say here now that we were able to defeat this incumbent, that we did it with the most votes ever cast in history, is such an incredible achievement. But I hope everybody allows it to sink in today that this was an extraordinary achievement. We managed, in the face of encroaching authoritarianism, approaching fascism, to beat it back with the power of democracy. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of the problems that Donald Trump took advantage of that remain. There's 2 elections in Georgia we'll have to fight, but I hope everybody takes the time to feel incredibly grateful and proud and thankful for the fact that we were able to do this together, because it was harder than we thought, and we won.
So I say round of applause for Steve. That was just remarkable. And round of applause for all of you, because I know a lot of these faces, I would say know 90% of you that are on this call, and I know how much you all did. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It for me, it did my heart so much good to watch this, because when I first saw it was before January 5th, or a little bit after January, and it just, yeah, we got a lot done. We were stuck in our homes, we were quarantined, and yet we still got a lot done. And the fact that there are currently 57 screens on this call, which means there's a lot more people because many of us share a screen, pretty phenomenal. So we are going to move forward and just do a little short business meeting. If I know that a lot of people, we've done a lot, and there are a lot of new actions out there. And I know a lot of us are sort of moving away from social media, Facebook in particular. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your viewpoint, our member Facebook page is one of the best places to know right away when there's a new petition out there to sign, a new call to action to make phone calls to representatives, and usually we will provide scripts. So there is a reason to join our member page on Facebook. We do send out a twice monthly newsletter. Often during this last couple months, we've had even more mail blasts and multiple text blasts because things have come up so fast and furiously. So be sure and become a member that is on our mailing list. So if you just learned about us off of Facebook or from a friend, you can go through our website, which is indivisiblehb.com. And you can join that way. And that way we will have your email address, we'll have your phone number for a text blast. And we really try to get as much information out as quickly as possible about what's going on out there. And as you know, most of this stuff does have a time limit on it. You know, the impact that comes first comes first. So think about that. And also on our website, you can donate money. And we will let you know, often Indivisible National will have a matching campaign. Our members have been really generous, which has allowed us to buy all the value signs that you may have seen out posted with some of the Democratic candidate signs, pay for postcard postage, pay for some of the postcards that we had to make a donation to get the postcards. So we don't use it for that money for specific candidates, but we do use it for those types of actions that support our values. So I highly recommend that you go and look at that website. It's very good. And you also can, those of you who have been members for a while may not have visited for a while, there have been some changes made. We've redone our committees and teams, and you can access the new definitions and what the teams are responsible for. And also it gives you the opportunity to volunteer to be on a team. And we have added to our teams. Sarah Moore joined leadership. Missy Selfen came on to membership so that Lori and she could manage both members coming through Facebook and members coming through the website. And from those of us who just meet people in the street and say, I met somebody who wants to join, here's their information, which happens more often than you might think. And then we also have Ellie, whose last name I will butcher, but starts with a B. who has joined our communications team. And it's awesome because she's an Instagrammer and we did not have an Instagrammer before. So we will have a presence not only on Twitter and Facebook, but also Instagram. So welcome, welcome. So I task you with looking at those committees and seeing if there's one that you would like to be part of. Well, right now, there is not only a petition to recall Mr. Maddock, who, when you were watching the video, the blonde woman in the pink who was giving the marchers the thumbs down is his wife. So there's also a campaign she is currently on the only slate, the one and only slate for leadership of Michigan GOP. So there is also a campaign to ask Mr. Wisney, who is running for chairperson, she's running for co-chair, to remove her from that slate because of everything that's been going on. So there's that going on. There's a representative who just today introduced a petition to recall Mr. Maddock. We have links for all of these directly. When we were doing our letter to the editors campaign last week, we had sample letters up for you. We can provide the email addresses. We can provide the physical addresses, phone numbers. So anything like that, that's what we've been involved with over this last week. It's been a crazy week. Many of us on this call will have had the same experience where we get up in the morning and say, I'm going to exercise today. And then we don't get up from our computers till 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I see Sherry's got her finger.
Yeah, I will add one thing. It's actually not a direct action that you can take right at this point, but stay tuned. As some of you may know, Mr. Maddock he and his wife own a small business, and it's a bail bonds business. And one of the coffee hours, one of the very few he had, he made the statement that he would recuse himself from a vote on any bills that came up about doing away with cash bail. And that is something that is coming up. So we're going to be watching that very carefully and making sure that he follows through. And we'll be taking some actions on that. So just a heads up, when you see something about promoting a bill to do away with cash bail or to contact perhaps Wentworth again, but someone to push him to recuse himself like he had promised. So be on the lookout for that. That's one of the things we'll hold him accountable.
Thank you for hosting this coffee afternoon. Great venue. Yeah. Really kudos for this. So in your notice for the coffee hour, you mentioned your interest in bail reform. And so I have some questions for you about that.
Sure, go ahead and sit down right here.
Well, I mean, I'm happy here.
We're shifting people out.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm comfortable here. So my question for you is, so my question for you is, what is your personal interest in bail reform?
I've been a bail bondsman for 30 years.
Okay. And so the fact that you are making public statements about bail reform and have a personal business interest in the industry, do you see that as being problematic from a conflict of interest standpoint?
I think it's an asset to have someone like myself who has the knowledge and the background of bail to be involved in discussion and debate.
I think that's true, but when you vote, you're also voting in your own personal business interest. Could you comment on that?
That may be a situation. I'll probably end up recusing myself of that vote. I mean, like other members do if they have a conflict of interest, sure.
So do you commit then to recusing yourself from votes on bail reform?
Sure.
Okay, good. Well, that's excellent. Thank you for that.
One of our missions is to hold all our elected people accountable. Praise them when they do something that we think is wonderful, and even call them, support them, even when we know they're going to vote the right way. It's important to call them and stay in touch because I noticed that, for instance, Gary Peters was mentioning how many people, exactly numbers, had called him in favor of impeachment over the past week. So those are tallies that they have to make, and it empowers them when they get calls from us saying, yes, go for it, even though we're pretty confident they're voting that way. So it's not just a negative action, it's also a positive one.
Yes. And as Sarah May put in the chat, that public forum for public support for his resolution is on our website also, how you can do that. And Ellie, I'm going to try to say your last name. Bakovich, I hope. But, oh, good. Thank you, Ellie. Ellie put in our Instagram handle. Is that what it's, I don't Instagram. I barely Twitter, but so that I have an Instagram account, so now I'm going to have to start using it and follow what Ellie puts up there, because she's already been burning rubber and getting stuff together. So it's really great. What I would love to say,
she really brought the average age of this group way down.
We're hoping she brings some friends. One thing that's pretty cool, in response to the letters to the editor, we have had, I think that's what it's primarily in response to, the current word of mouth, but we don't get out there and talk to people anymore. We have had our average request for membership in this last week. I can't even tell you, it's where we would get maybe one a day, if that, or a couple, or somebody would recommend a bunch of friends, but we're getting like half a dozen, 6, 7, 8 requests a day, which is
good,
phenomenal. So keep up that good work. Keep that positive attitude when we're discussing negative things, because then it gets us out there and looks like these are people I would like to be involved with. They're taking a proactive approach. That's kind of our things about our team, our business meeting piece. The other thing that we have always really been involved with this time of year is Huron Valley's Martin Luther King Day celebration. The team that does that has decided not to do a march because of COVID, probably, a reasonable move. So instead of having a drive-in type celebration at the community sharing building, which if you're familiar with our community, it's up north of M59 on Duck Lake, and it's the old Duck Lake Alternative Education Center. If you want more information on that, Laura may want to add something. I know she is on the planning committee for that, but their website is hvmlkday.org, and I'll put that in the chat when I'm not talking. But you can also, what we've done, they do every year is, excuse me, collect the components to make a soup, a hearty soup, so that can go to that can be the donation that you make that then goes directly to the clients of community sharing. And those components are listed in their they're on their website in the information about the day. And it's really kind of fun. And you can usually, you do this as a big group, you donate all the stuff, the kids come in, they decorate all the bags, and the soups go in a bag, and then they go to the clients. Well, now you get to decorate your own bag and drop it off, or you can make a direct donation to community sharing, and that will go to help sponsor a soup shelf in community sharing. I think I got that right. They have shelves that a community organization or a business can sponsor. So the donations will go to sponsor a shelf of soup in community sharings from food bank. So they're a pretty awesome organization. I really, if you have time, it's at 1:00 on Sunday. If you have time to just drive by and don't make a donation. When we do our Empty Bowls project, which had to be deferred because of the pandemic, which is another big fundraiser for community sharing, 95% of what we make goes directly to the clients. And I don't think that there are too many community organizations that can say that. So I think that, that they're very worthwhile supporting, and the whole concept of Martin Luther King. And there will be a little celebration. They've got a screen to do a short video, and I think it could be a fun piece of your afternoon. Did I miss anything, Laura?
Some of the high school students will be guiding people in, and Doris is going to print up some sheets and hand them out or put them on the windshields just to let people know what we're doing. But basically, it's going to be a very short program. And again, we'd like to do the shelf. We're going to be doing a soup shelf at community sharing and funded for the year. So if anybody would like to donate when they do bring in the soup kits, that would be really appreciated too.
Who would they call, Laura?
They can just bring the donation in there if they want to put it in the bag, or there'll be people that will be getting the bags, they can let them know that a donation is in there, and that way they'll separate them. Or if Doris would probably know, because she, heads it over there, because she does so much work over there.
Well, that's
So
who I got all my information from.
yes, so you could probably get in touch with her if something would have to be, because she's also on the committee, plus so involved with community sharing.
Right,
So I'm
yeah.
sure she would know. Isaac is really the chairperson, and he's a teacher at Lakeland. So, but
yeah.
certainly if anybody has any questions, they can ask me, or especially Doris.
Yeah, Isaac, who runs it, is sort of Milford born and bred, a teacher in our school district, and he and his wife constantly give back. So it's pretty wonderful. So hopefully next year we'll have our usual Martin Luther King Day celebration, which is always freezing cold, but a ton of fun. So hopefully we'll be back to that. One more thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sherry. We are really fortunate that 2 of our members are currently on our Huron Valley School Board, Denise Forrest, and, well, actually more than 2 have been in the past, but right now we have Denise Forrest and Laura Dodd, and Denise asked if they could share a little something about the situation with the school board. So I will turn it over to whichever of you wants to.
Let me unmute myself. I didn't necessarily ask, but we thought if you had some time, since the headliner is rather busy in Washington, and Laura has been on the school board in the past, and we just welcomed her back. Where's Laura? Let me get the speaker view off. And we had our first meeting together last Monday, and of course, I never thought when I joined the school board that we'd be living through a pandemic with no federal leadership guiding anything as we made our way through this pandemic, trying to keep both our students safe, our students learning, and our staff. It's been an interesting and very tumultuous journey. I know that there are some parents probably on this call, certainly on this call, and grandparents on this call, and parents and grandparents that have kids in other districts. We made a lot of very difficult decisions, and none of them were taken lightly. We've been, of late, getting some, I don't want to say bad press, but we've had some disgruntled parents that are upset that, when we say we would go back to school 4 days a week, we had to put a pause on that when numbers started really to skyrocket in the Huron Valley School District right around Halloween time, to go face-to-face 4 days a week and in a hybrid learning and 2 days at home learning. And, that was tough, but that was the smartest thing that we really could have done, because we managed to stay in school with no closures and keeping, our students and our staff safe really through the end of October, when we had to finally shut down because our numbers really skyrocketed. I personally, have a theory. It's not a conspiracy theory, but I have a little theory that right there, at the end of this election, when Donald Trump was doing all those super spreader rallies, there were 2 rallies, one with Mike Pence, not so populated, but there were 2 within a week in Waterford, at the airport over there. And right after that second one, Trump had, a lot of supporters there, up to maybe 5,000. And that's when our numbers really got high. So, it was community spread. It wasn't spread inside our school. But as of the 19th, right after our Martin Luther King weekend, our kids are going back 4 days a week. And just when you think like, okay, things are going to be settled down, high school kids have finals. And, now the latest upset, and, all these, everybody's opinions are valid, right? Everybody has an opinion, and there's really no right answer. There just isn't. I think everybody knows that. But, the latest upset is how we're handling high school midterms. Since we've had 2 days face-to-face, we've had remote learning. you know, and then the HVBA Huron Valley Virtual Academy, which has been running smoothly because it's 100% remote from the beginning of the year with, you know, Laura's daughter's in there with about 1,800 students. She can talk about that. But so we're working through that. I have, I'm on the Teaching, Learning, and Technology Committee. I'm the chairperson on that. And then I'm also on the Finance Committee. So there's subcommittees that board members are on, and we take our cues from central office, from administrators, principals, and from teachers. So, you know, we kind of help guide the policy route on that. So, and that's kind of a little bit of an update from me, and Laura's out there somewhere.
I'm here.
You're up.
Hello. Well, and you know, I have all of 3 days on the school board now, so sincere expertise. But I think the thing that has struck me the most about the schools is usually Huron Valley schools and the schools are the thing that brings this community together. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat or independent or young, old, single, any of those things. The schools bring the people together in these communities. I think because we're townships, not everybody has the same place that they go on Saturday nights. And this year with the closures of the schools and that sort of stuff, it really has been dividing. You know, as divided as our community is, this has made it worse. And obviously it's not the schools' unintended consequences, you know, of the goal of keeping students, staff safe and the community safe. Really, we've had some of these unintended consequences. There's a group of folks out there, you may have seen the signs, Save Our Kids, Open Our Schools, who've been very vocally active, but there are probably twice as many people who are saying, save our teachers, keep our schools closed, or whatever. So, you know, it's not a winning situation. And I think what Indivisible can do to be helpful is really just lend a listening ear and be supportive. We all need grace. We need patience. There is no playbook for how to run a school during a pandemic with zero national leadership. So I think, you know, if anything, just encouraging people, you know, to operate with grace, be kind to each other, ask questions where appropriate. I'm part of a really, really wonderful Facebook group, probably the best Facebook group I'm part of. No offense, Indivisible Huron Valley. But it's the Huron Valley Virtual Academy Support Group. And for all of us parents who have kids in virtual, this is our first time. And this wonderful woman, and I think a couple other ladies, started this Facebook group. And it's amazing to see the support that when there's a big problem that comes up, nobody can print from Google Classroom, what do? They take all the questions, they go and ask, and then they bring back a report to the group. And I talked to the superintendent before I was seated on the board, I think after I won, but before I was seated. And you know, there were so many complaints coming in and so many people were angry. And I mentioned this group and I mentioned the leader of the group, and the superintendent was like, well, you know, I don't know what's going on out there. And I said, she is your ally. She is your support. She is your friend. This group wants everyone to be successful. And I think the more our schools, our teachers, our administrators, our families, our kids hear that everybody wants them to be successful. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants to go back to school. We just want to be really safe about it. So I think, you know, as a community and as a group of supportive folks in the community, you know, continue to support teachers and students and administrators and offer that grace where grace is really needed right now.
Thanks, Laura.
And if you're watching the YouTube school board meeting and you see that I have a sign behind me that says, do not touch hot, please send me a text so I know that I have a silly sign behind my cell phone on home Zoom for school board. That'd be great.
I saw it. I didn't say anything. No, I didn't see it. I didn't even notice it. So
I would have screenshot that and saved it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Very, very good Oh, I'm sorry, Denise. Do you have more to say?
I just, want to maybe say what, one more thing, because this is a real progression, especially through the pandemic. Now, education staff members are eligible for their vaccines. And I know several of our teachers have gotten them, are getting them. They're somewhat, still a little bit scarce, but I feel like by and large, most of our teachers and staff members, whether it's a secretary, custodian, bus driver, et cetera, are up for getting those vaccines, but it's just a matter of time. And I know Governor Whitmer, I think I just saw it today, came out that, we're getting 1 million or so doses into Michigan. We were one of 8 states. So thank you, Governor Whitmer, for once again advocating for the people in your state. Amazing. I mean, we have a shortage now, but she's lobbied hard, and I'm sure the health department has also, so there'll be more coming in. And she also, I just noticed this through, Michigan Association of School Board, they take very good care of the state of Michigan and our school board members. I get a lot of my information through that group. So it's a really kind of well-connected, giant Michigan and national family that I'm finding out. But also something that our governor has offered, I don't know if it's through this latest, CARES Act, but I said this back in August, that if teachers and staff members in schools are essential workers, then they should be tested. So finally, I believe the state of Michigan is offering teachers in front of the classroom and those frontline workers to be tested with a rapid test once a week if they so choose. So that's kind of huge. And that is an example of something that should have happened in August when we were going back to school. That would have made a lot of districts and teachers especially feel a little bit safer if they're going back in front of kids and you can't social distance. But I guess better late than never. So it's,
So Denise, I think what you're saying is we need to rest up and get that woman reelected in 2 years.
Yes.
That's going to be a big priority. And as well as Dana and Jocelyn, of course, too, and Haley. But that's a big one right there, because we need her to support us in health-wise, but also for support to the schools. Liz?
There's no rest for the proactive. Just saying that, as I've said this to John a couple of times, we were getting a break, just asking for a friend. When is that happening? But it's not, but that's okay. When you can look at that video and be reinforced for everything that came on. But I want to thank Denise and Laura for, again, providing a really positive approach to what we can do, and instead of complaining, just the positivity of being supportive. Our schools are the foundation of our community, and if we can't lose that. And I put my daughter all the way through this school system, and just despite her best efforts, she's been very successful. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So what I'm going to do is turn it over to Sherry, who's going to tell you a little bit about what went on with Haley, and then talk about what we'd like to do for the last little bit of the meeting.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Just to give you a little insight of the conversations I've had with Haley's staff over the last week or so. She was set to be here tonight, of course, and it was a go until really just a matter of an hour before our meeting tonight when we scrambled around to post it. But the plan was that she would be able to come after the vote. So when the vote ended early enough, I was really sighing relief, but then got the message. And my guess is that there were either caucuses and meetings that needed to be attended after the vote that she wasn't counting on, or there could be any reason. But they said they would reschedule right away. I tried to get a commitment before the meeting tonight so I could announce it, but for our next meeting, but it's on the table. And so I'll get together with her staff in the next few days and see if we can't finalize that, because I know everyone wants to talk to her about not only our hopes for 2021, but Indivisible National has some priorities. And so thank you for those of you who sent in questions. Now you have more time. So those were sent in advance to her. And her staffer, Justin, said, well, at least we know the answer to one question, which was, how are you going to vote on impeachment? So we did get that answer. So anyway, we look forward to seeing Haley, and it won't be long before she can visit us, I'm sure. So what we thought we would do in place of her visit is give everybody a chance to talk. We're going to, in just a few minutes, John is going to put us into what we call break rooms. And if you've never been on a break room before on Zoom, it means that all of a sudden you'll leave this big array of people and you'll be with a small group of maybe 4 or 5 people. And you just have a conversation, just a casual conversation. Sometimes it's easier to speak up when you're in a small group rather than a large group. And so this is an opportunity for everybody to have something to say. And then we'll come back as a whole group, and anyone who would like to share out to the whole group, we can talk a little further before we close our meeting. When we get into these breakout groups, you can talk about whatever you want, but I was going to throw out a little topic or a suggestion. And this is a little bit, if you've never been to one of our Saturday morning coffees with Jonathan, this is the kind of thing he does. He throws out a few, current topics, and we just kind of shoot the breeze for an hour, and it's a lot of fun. So this is a similar thing, but here's my suggestion for a topic. How was your day, January 6th? And, just sort of think back on what that day was like. And how are you feeling tonight? How have your feelings changed on either the situation or just owning your emotions between January 6th and today? Okay, so that's it. And we'll talk for a while and then come back as a big group. Well, that's good. Yeah, and I enjoyed meeting the new people in our group. That was
We had a couple of newbies too, which is wonderful.
That was the best part.
Yes, it was a great opportunity to do that. So who would like to just share out something from their group that came up that you think is particularly important that we all hear? Don't hold back.
I'll
Mute yourself.
I got to bring the perspective of high school students, which most of you probably don't have.
Not for a long time.
But so I go to Holly, and like somebody mentioned in my group, that's known as a very conservative town. I was not aware of that, but I definitely see that. And so I reposted something on my story about how the police, like it was kind of a joke, like it wasn't a joke, but the way it was worded was a joke. It was like, looks like the police finally found out how to not use deadly force because only one rioter died invading our Capitol building. And basically, if you're wondering what high school Trump supporters had to say about the issue, it's that Trump had nothing to do with this. Black Lives Matter was way worse and way more dangerous. And one of them even told me, I was like, if any other country or group of people raided our Capitol that wasn't like the Proud Boys, I feel like there would have been a different reaction. And he genuinely told me, no, there wouldn't have if this is all they did. So he thinks our Capitol can be raided by any group of people and be treated like this. So that's
I've seen a lot of that on Facebook, though. They just keep blaming BLM and Antifa. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's like a deflection. What about?
Well, yeah, I always have to be aware of those false equivalency too. That's just something that's automatic. You can expect.
In our group, we started off with how we felt elated at the beginning of January 6th, and then how it quickly turned into like disgust, upset, disappointment, sadness, anger, all those kind of things. But then we had as our Saturday morning conversations often go, it went off on a different tangent, and it was a very good tangent. We talked a lot about schools, and we also talked a lot about racism. and how that kind of all might figure into this. And I shared with our little small group that for February, Black History Month, that as the steering committee, we were trying to work on how to address this question and how to get in speakers and what kind of a program we can get together that can start in February and maybe continue and things like that. And a bunch of people put in a bunch of books. They gave us ideas of books that we can read and discuss, things that will give you a different perspective. So I took note of all those books and I will put them in the minutes, at least from my group. And so if anybody's interested in reading some good books by Black authors or about Black experiences, check out the minutes when they come out in a few days after the meeting, and a lot of them will be in there.
We're getting that set up. I did finally get some really good leads on facilitators. So that's, then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. And so we've been a little bit busy the last 4 days. So
yes, you have.
We're going to be moving forward on that. So kind of look for that in our programs coming up.
Okay, the link in the chat is the link to join our email. So if you wanted to get that thing that Janet was talking about, if you sign up there, you'll get our bi-monthly emails. So it has information about our next meetings, actions you can take, the link to the Saturday discussion. If you liked what we just did, that's a lot like the Saturday discussion. So
anybody else want to share from their small group some of the things that came up or something that you want to get off?
I could share.
Yeah, Larry.
I kind of played a devil's advocate, and I'm gonna
gee, I'm surprised.
After I share, I'm going to leave Milford for about 10 days. Now, I was questioning the wisdom of the impeachment. I was thinking of, from a political point of view, for the future of the Democratic Party and the midterm elections coming up, there's always a backlash if there's perceived to be overreach. If this impeachment goes quickly, the House vote certainly did. I don't think the Senate is going to be smooth at all. If this thing draws itself out for a long period of time, I think we're going to suffer for this. I think it's going to be perceived as overreach. Now, what I do have a question about, because I think, and I was watching the hearings last night about the 25th Amendment, and I was watching the hearings this morning about the impeachment. And there was actually a good point brought up by a Republican that said that if you look at the wording of Trump's speech, he must have had a lawyer go through it that was more competent than Giuliani. And you would think it would be hard for a prosecutor to link what he said directly to the riot. That's not popular, I know. But I mean, we're talking from a legal point of view. There was also talk, was part of the impeachment draft, was part of it mentioned the phone call to the Georgia governor?
No, there's one article. It's only got one thing in it.
So it doesn't include the Georgia.
No, unfortunately, but the reason they're doing it now, and the vote will come when the Democrats control the Senate. So they can control the timing. Yeah. It won't go on for days because they won't allow it to go on for days.
Okay, I hope so. But I don't know that legally, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know that legally they can link Trump to the rioting with his words there. Yeah, with his lies been telling forever, that certainly is background motivation, but I don't know if they can make a direct link for that.
Well,
but that phone call to the Georgia governor.
Yeah, right. That's a crime.
That seems to me, isn't that open and shut? So I'm hoping that gets, would that be Article 2 or something? So this was not part of Article 1?
Well, that can be adjudicated later in the district, the federal district in Georgia where it occurred. But, you know, impeachment is a trial in a way, but it's not like going to a court, like what we consider a court. You just have to have enough senators to vote to get them out of office. And it's high crimes and misdemeanors and basically really bad conduct. will get you impeached. And
This
I
was the
think
most-
he's met that bar a lot.
This was
And
the most bipartisan impeachment in our country's history. And the impeachment is just an indictment. The trial takes place in the Senate.
Correct.
but it's
I know
not
that.
like going to regular court. And the other thing is he's lost Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has given them permission to vote for impeachment. Just like Liz Cheney kind of gave them permission to vote for these articles in the House.
They want him out of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And they don't want to give him the opportunity to start another campaign the day he's out of office.
Exactly. And by impeaching him, he could never run for office again.
Also, he has no money for an office. He will have no money for travel.
But
He
that's,
will have
Karen,
no
that's
secret
if he's
food.
convicted, right? Impeachment
Right.
doesn't do
But
any of
that's
that,
why they're
right?
doing it. That's why
actually-
they need to get him out of the way. Then the states will take care of, like New York State, I think their indictments are ready to go the second he's out of office, I would assume. But he's got a lot of civil and criminal proceedings to come.
Okay, I'm gonna say this would be a great discussion for Saturday morning,
Yes.
right, Jonathan? Are you taking I'm gonna wrap it up and let's do something. It's I'm a teacher, retired teacher, and one of the things.
One other thing. Look at the 14th Amendment, Article 3 of the 14th Amendment talks about not being able to run again. And that must be what some people are trying to tie him into.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
So what we used to do in my classroom is a thing called popcorn, where they didn't raise their hand and I called on them. They could just sort of say something as they, as they think of it. I'm not sure if that works on Zoom because I have not taught on Zoom, so I have no idea, but maybe it won't. But if it doesn't, we'll wrap it up and just call on people. But the question the thing I'm going to throw out is you have a superpower tonight. Okay, here's your superpower. You can make any one thing happen in the Biden administration, during the Biden administration. If there was one thing that you could make come true, no pushback, no worry about Republicans, you could make it happen, what would it be? And it's like, I'd like one word or just a small phrase of words. Who wants to go first?
Get rid of the Senate filibuster.
Okay, another one.
Healthcare.
Healthcare.
Peace.
Another one.
Reform the Supreme Court.
Reform the Supreme Court. Another one.
Common sense gun laws. Yeah.
Sorry. What was it, Renee?
Common sense gun laws.
Common sense gun laws. Another one.
Change the Electoral College.
And the Electoral College. Another one.
The end of
Civil rights.
Immigration.
The end of racial injustice.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Environment.
What did you say?
Susan said the end of
Racial injustice.
Racial justice.
Accountability.
Accountability. My thing, I'm just going to throw mine in here. I want DC statehood.
That was going to be mine.
I would like to restore all the financial protections and laws we had through the Great Deal that kept our economy from doing boom bust all the time. And the other one is I'd like to repeal the Taft-Hartley Act that really hurt union development in the 40s.
That's more than a phrase, Karen.
Okay, Allison? Allison.
Karen can't do one word.
Citizens United. Get rid of
Citizens United.
I would like to fix the media with some sort of
fairness doctrine.
Yes, the fairness
Shut
doctrine.
down propaganda networks of all of the lies, the Fox News, OANN, Newsmax, all of them gone, regulated.
I want to see funding, equal funding for public education.
That was mine, Sarah. Fund our schools, respect educators, value education, value students.
Yeah. Boy, doesn't this feel good?
Campaign reform. What about campaign reform?
Ooh, yeah.
That's a big one.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Rejoin
Citizens
Paris
United.
Climate Agreement. Paris Climate Agreement.
How about really invest in education? All this other bullshit programs they've been throwing at education over the years is bullshit. Really, really invest in education.
It all comes down to education in many ways.
Yeah.
It does.
Everything. Okay. Good job, everyone.
Awesome ideas. So
Thank you, all you new people, for coming, and we hope to see you next month.
And we
very
made
much
you
for
talk, and
having
everybody
me.
had new people. Wait, don't go away yet. Don't go away yet.
Okay.
So if you loved the video, would like to share it or view it again. I mean, you all want to see the transition of my hair, I'm sure.
That's why I told Jeff, I said, you can see Liz's hair getting longer and longer.
No, well, it is the
Hair
working
grow.
title, you know, watching Liz's hair grow.
Hair grow.
We do have a YouTube channel. And so we post our meetings. The video that you saw tonight will be on there. If you're interested at all to watch, Steve did an amazing video of the Black Lives Matter that the excerpt was taken from, if you would like to see some more of that.
And you said it was on YouTube?
Sorry, on YouTube, yes. If you do Huron Valley on YouTube, it should come up. Oh, there you go.
It's also on our website.
And it's on our website, yep.
And our emails.
Visiting the website, there is a wealth of information on that website. So as Sherry mentioned, for upcoming meetings, just so you have something to look forward to. So we hope you're all coming back. We are trying to get Haley back. That's certainly a priority. We are looking at doing a session on anti-racism and maybe following that up with a series of smaller group study that for people who really want to do a deep dive and get more invested in it. And we also have a speaker available to us on ranked choice voting, who does an amazing job. I went to one of his sessions and went in not really understanding what it was and came out feeling like, I get it. This is great. So we have several really interesting, exciting things coming up. I assume we'll be Zooming for a while yet, even though we're getting closer to having a vaccine and closer to nice weather by each day. So we will go back to trying to be in the park a little bit, I think, once the weather gets nice, because we do I think part of the problem with the pandemic, and maybe it fed into what went on in Washington for all we know, is we are isolated and we don't have eye contact with people. We don't touch people. And as somebody who had a very strong basis in sensory motor learning and development, that's so important. And it's much easier to get too internalized and, wallow in things that maybe we shouldn't wallow in. So at any rate, there we go. Check out the chat. There's tons of good stuff in there. And please come back. This was awesome.
Saturday morning at 9 for the discussion thing?
Yeah,
right?
the discussion is Saturday mornings at 9. And you never quite, we know where John starts us, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where we're going to go. It can go in many directions. We can guarantee that probably, yeah. And maybe we'll see
coffee talk.
Yes, at community sharing on Sunday. So thank you for coming. Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, you guys.
Good night.
Good night. See you
Thank you.
Saturday.
Thank you.
Ooh, I'm going to have a seizure with all those flashing screens.